плечу, да, я солдат. Кому же думать, как не молодым, о розовых восходах и закатах, о том, чтобы не скрыл их черный дым.
You, as professional soldiers, should know your enemy. By knowing the capabilities of his weapons and his likely tactics, you should be able to avoid his strengths and exploit his weakness.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Armourer's Bench, and today we are again taking a look at an item from the Tab reference collection. This is a recent acquisition, and it's a really interesting piece of Cold War history. It's a recognition handbook of foreign weapons and equipment for the USSR. This is a infantry weapons booklet, but there were half a dozen similar in this series of recognition guides. So it's not like the smaller one that we took a look at in the past, where it's a little booklet that you can just pop into your pocket, pull out, and you can see photographs, etc. This one's a little bit more in depth. There's about 100 pages, and it covers everything from pistols through to hand grenades and some anti-tank weapons as well. So it says here, this publication supersedes Recognition Handbook of Foreign Weapons and Equipment Volume 1 Part 1, and that this particular one was produced in August 1966, printed by the Ministry of Defence, but prepared under the direction of the Chief of the General Staff. And this would have been put together by intelligence officers. So, as I mentioned, this is part of a series, and you can see here on this contents page that there are 12 individual groups. Each one would have had a pamphlet like this one. So there's ones on vehicles, telecommunications equipment, all sorts of different things. And as we go through, we can see just about the breadth of what these pamphlets covered. So page 204, so it's part of a series, so group 1 would have started with page 1, and at this point we're at group 3, so we are 204 pages in, and this contents page is just for this booklet. So as I said, starts with pistols and revolvers, submachine guns and assault rifles, carbines and rifles, machine guns, light and heavy, and then we have a section on small arms, ammunition, hand grenades, and infantry anti-tank weapons. So let's dive in and take a little look through. In the introduction here we have a little section that says, the Soviet Army is equipped with a family of small arms of modern design based on the 7.62 rimless cartridge, the short cartridge M1943, which of course was 7.62 by 39. The round is used in the Kalashnikov assault rifle, the Simonov semi-automatic carbine, and the RPD light machine gun. The older rifles and carbines and the company and Guryanov machine guns use the rimmed M1908 and M1930 7.62 rounds. The obsolete Nagant revolver fires a special type of ammunition, and then it goes on to note about the Nagant, the Papasha, and the Sergeyev submachine guns, the Makarov and the Stechkin pistols, fire a new 9mm round of unique design. To assist in the identification of various types of small arms ammunition, the Soviets use colour markings. In most cases, the paint is applied to the tip of the bullet and less frequently to the primer at the base. So over here on this page we can see a list of the colour markings that the Soviets used. So for ball there was no colour, for tracer there was yellow, armour piercing was green, armour piercing incendiary was black tipped, armour piercing tracer was black and red, and then we have various others including incendiary with a tungsten carbide core as well. It notes here that the booklet covers anti-tank weapons, but mortars are covered in group 2. So as I said, the other groups or booklets in this series all covered various different aspects of Soviet small arms and infantry equipment, and also vehicles. So first page we have the Tt33 Tokrev as the first entry, and the information is pretty slim. There's not a lot here. We get a photograph so you can identify if you pick one up or come across one. And then over here on this side we have the brief characteristics, and then we have both the British or Imperial measurements and characteristics for weight 1.9 pounds, and then metric as well, so 0.85 kilograms. Recognition features a knurled external hammer and a fan type trigger. So it mentions that this was the standard until the introduction of the Makarov and Stechkin, and it's based on the Colt Browning design. Next up we have the Makarov. The clip we saw at the beginning of the video is from a British Army School of Infantry training film from 1979, designed to familiarise troops with com-block weapons, essentially building on pamphlets like this one. As we go on, I'll include a few clips from the training film, beginning with this one, demonstrating the Makarov.
And we'll start off firstly with the Makarov pistol, designated the PM, and here it is. The Makarov pistol, remember, very much like the 9mm Browning. You'll note in particular with the magazine that it'll take 8 rounds.
So we have another black and white photograph and a quick rundown. This compact lightweight pistol is a standard service personal arm in the Soviet Army. It is a blowback operated double action pistol of a conventional design. So it doesn't go into too much detail about the operating systems or how the actual weapons work. It's purely a recognition guide. So in some of these sort of guides you might see explanations how to clear the weapon if it's found. But in this case it's just literally the basics. Next up we have the Stechkin, or APS, quite a famous Soviet sidearm. And this is really interesting because it doesn't mention the fact that the Stechkin is capable of fully automatic fire. It just notes that this is a blowback operated pistol capable of semi-automatic fire and fires the same ammunition as the Makarov. The Stechkin is carried in a wooden holster which also serves as a stock. It is the standard weapon of the Soviet Army, which obviously isn't quite correct because the Makarov was much more widely issued than the Stechkin was. Again, we have weight, feed, ammunition, range, with and without the holster, and then some of the recognition features. So it has a change lever on the left side of the slide, so they know that there's a change lever, but they don't mention the fact that it is capable of fully automatic fire. Now we're into submachine guns, so we've got the Papasha, or the Shpagin, or PPSH-41, and then it notes that this fires the same ammunition as the Tokrev, and that copies of the PPSH have been made by various Soviet satellite forces, and it is largely being replaced by the Kalashnikov now. Again, recognition features: a one-piece wooden stock, combination hinged barrel and receiver cover, elongated cooling slots in the barrel jacket. Then we've got the PPS-43, and it mentions that this is used by security forces and second-line troops, and also in Soviet satellite countries as well. Now we come to what would have been relatively new technology in 1966, or at least to the NATO allies. It's the 7.62mm assault rifle Kalashnikov, or AK-47.
Here we have the AKM, the standard assault weapon of the Warsaw Pact forces. Firing, remember, the 7.62 intermediate round. That's the shorter one that you saw previously. Remember that this weapon is issued to Soviet infantry on a wide scale. Approximately 34 million have been produced.
So we have here, it reads, the AK has replaced the PPSH and PPS submachine guns in the Soviet Army, and is seen extensively in the satellite forces and China. It's gas operated and capable of semi and fully automatic fire. It fires the 7.62 short rimless cartridge M1943. A model with a folding metal stock also exists. This weapon is being manufactured in some satellite countries. So again, we have the characteristics, so it's 10.6 pounds, 30 round curved box magazine, and an effective range of 440 yards or 400 metres. Now we're into bolt action rifles and full caliber rifles. Mosin-Nagant 9130 in sniper configuration with a PU scope, which is mentioned just here as well, fitted with a 4-power PU telescope, and in some instances a silencer, which I've never seen. That's really interesting. I wonder if there are documented occasions when these were seen with silencers or suppressors. I haven't seen any mention of that, but I am by no means a Soviet weapons expert. Then we have the M1944 Carbine, another simple side profile photograph. So there's no photographs showing any details or controls of the weapons. It's just the most basic sort of representational photograph. Again, mentions that this is a standard Soviet arm of World War II and is mostly obsolescent and has been replaced by other weapons now. Now we have the SVT-40, the Tokrev M1940. This is an interesting entry as it explains that these ceased to be produced in 1943, but are still seen with Soviet internal security forces and some satellite nations. The SKS, 2 photographs of this, one with the bayonet unfolded and opposite side profile photographs. The SKS is one of a family of Soviet post-war small arms which fire the M1943 short rimless cartridge. It is a gas operated and has a permanently attached folding knife bayonet. It's being phased out on the Soviet army, but is seen extensively with satellite forces. It is being replaced in the Soviet army by the Kalashnikov assault rifle. That takes us into machine guns. So first up we have the DP and DPM drum-fed World War II era and before light machine guns. And it says here the DP was the standard light machine gun until the introduction of the RPD and may be encountered in any of the satellite forces. The DPM is a modernised version. Both are gas-operated, air-cooled and fully automatic. Here we have some of the recognition features. So the first 3 are common to the DP and DPM, and then the first 4, and then the 5th, the wooden stock with rounded bulge on the lower edge, which is, you can just see this here, is common with the DP only, and the DPM has a wooden stock and a pistol grip. Over the page we have the DT and DTM. These are typically used in Soviet armoured fighting vehicles, AFVs. And then the RPD, which replaced the DP and DPM. This is interesting as we've got more detailed photograph here identifying the weapon. So we have, with the magazine removed, showing the belt that was inside the drum. And we have a left and right profile of the guns as well. Of the gun, rather. This weapon came into service in 1954 with the AK assault rifle and the SKS semi-automatic carbine. It is gas operated, fires the M1943, the 7.62x39 short rifle round, and is fed by a belt of ammunition from a drum magazine. This is the Soviet infantry section weapon and is capable of fully automatic fire only. So it has as its recognition features a stubby wooden stock, the gas port and operating mechanism beneath the barrel, which we can see here, wooden hand grip just forward of the rear sight block, just there, and the bipod legs mounted well forward behind the front sight. Next up we have the RPK. This weapon is a light machine gun version of the AK. You can basically kind of tell that. It is believed that the RPK will replace the RPD. The RPK has a longer barrel than the AK and has a bipod. It may be seen with the AK-type box magazine or the inclined drum-type magazine. Clearly, at the time of publication, they didn't have a decent photograph available, but some years later the School of Infantry had an actual example to demonstrate. Here's a clip from the training film showing the RPK in action.
The AKM, and now to look at the RPK, the Soviets' light machine gun. Remember, it fires the same round that you saw with the AKM. That's the intermediate Soviet round. To fire on the automatic mode, which is its primary mode, you simply push up to the next slot. And continue firing.
Then we have the RP-46. The RP-46 is a post-war development of the DP series. It has a detachable belt-fed magazine and is gas-operated. It is the Soviet Infantry Company's support weapon and is capable of greater sustained fire than the RPD. Then we have the classic M1910 Maxim. The Maxim machine gun has been replaced by the SG-43, but is still seen in some satellite armies. It is water-cooled and recoil operated. Not too much written on that one. Then we have the SG-43, or the Grunyov M1943. Nice photograph of the weapon on a wheeled mount. The SG-43 is the standard Soviet battalion level machine gun. It is air-cooled, gas-operated weapon and designed for dual ground and AD role, AD being air defence. Here's another clip looking at the SGM. Two modifications of the SG-43 exist, the SGM for ground use and the SGMT, which is a tank machine gun replacing the DT and the DTM. Then we have the DShK, the DShK, which was introduced in 1938, and it also mentions the DShK M as well, I believe. Yeah. So here we have this heavy machine gun is an air-cooled, gas-operated weapon designed for dual ground and air defence role. Although probably obsolescent, it is still a standard weapon of both the Soviet and satellite armies. The modified version, the M1938-46, is the model generally in service. As an air defence machine gun, it is largely replaced by the newer and more powerful 14.5mm ZPU-4, except on tanks where it is still used in the air defence role. And then the final section covers, one of the final sections covers ammunition. So we have the 7.62 round used by the Tokrev, PPSH and PPS. The 9mm Makarov and Stechkin round. Then we have the 7.62 rimmed. The 7.62 rifle cartridge, type D. So we have, breaks down into individual types of cartridge, heavier grained bullet, and then we have the 7.62 by 39, although nowhere in here does it give the 39 dimensions or anything like that, the other case dimensions. Then we have the 12.7 round used by the DShK, the 14.5-inch anti-tank rifle round, which the anti-tank rifle isn't actually covered in this booklet, I don't believe. Then we're into some of the grenades. So we have the F1 defensive hand grenade. The F1 is an anti-personnel grenade which is designed to inflict casualties by fragmentation. Then we have a couple of offensive defensives, the RG-42, RGD-5, the RDG-33, So then we have the RPG-40 and the RPG-43, which are anti-tank grenades which were developed during the Second World War, so they're holdovers from World War II. As is the RPG-6 as well, which it notes here that it has a impact-fused shape charge and is stabilised in flight by a trailing cloth strips, which come out the rear. And then finally, we're into heavier infantry anti-tank weapons, including the RPG-2. It notes here that the RPG-2 is the Soviet section anti-tank weapon. It has a light reloadable launching tube and fires a large caliber hollow charged projectile. Small 40mm open-ended launching tube, conical projectile, which protrudes from the launch tube, which we can see just here. And then we have the 82mm B10 recoilless anti-tank weapon, so the equivalent of the US recoilless rifles and the UK's 120mm battalion anti-tank recoilless rifles as well. Yeah, so we have a little breakdown here. Weight 188 pounds or 85 kilograms, capable of firing heat or 8G rounds. Then a slightly larger 107mm B11 recoilless rifle. Also displaying that it can be towed on the back of a truck. And that is about it for this particular pamphlet in the series. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this really interesting. I know I did. I was really pleased to pick this up recently for the tab reference collection. Covers almost every iteration of Soviet weapons in the mid-60s. There are some that would obviously be replaced in the coming decades, so we don't obviously see in here the SVD or some of the other later AK variants. But yeah, a really interesting little piece of Cold War history. As I say, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Sharing the video with friends really helps us grow the channel, and if you have any comments or questions, please do leave them in the comments below. And if you'd like to, you can support the channel via Patreon, and that allows us to pick up little pieces of history like this one and share them with you in videos like this. So, thank you for watching. Catch you next time.